the Flying Dutchman, the terror of the seas, the ghostly pirate captain, the one that will send you to Davy Jones' locker, well, he traded his soul for immortality to a living locker. And now he simply feeds the souls of others to get out of his eternal debt. But there is somebody that wants to stop him. See, SpongeBob has a whole new animated film coming out, and they just released the trailer for Search for SquarePants. In this new trailer, we get to see a huge glimpse as to what this film is all about. SpongeBob and Patrick get ready for a pirate adventure, but they get taken by the Flying Dutchman to the underworld, and Mr. Krabs gets his crew to go save them. They get turned into ghosts, Squidward doesn't care all the way, and we get to see a human pirate in a glass ball. And that got me thinking about the Flying Dutchman and all the dirty deals he's ever made to our favorite friends. So today I'm exposing the truth behind the Flying Dutchman and how we know that someone's actually been trying to stop him behind the scenes. What is up, guys, and welcome to another episode of Animated Cartoon Conspiracy Theory, the internet show that makes you question everything about your favorite childhood shows, from Gumball controlling the void to Mr. Krabs faking the secret formula. So let me ask you a question. Has your childhood love of SpongeBob experienced pain whenever you watch the newer episodes like I have? Well, you're not alone. Like, the new episodes aren't terrible, but they definitely are interesting and sometimes funny. But what got me more interested in all of this is the newest marketing around the Flying Dutchman. He's not only getting a whole new film with Mark Hamill as his voice actor, but he has also got a new video game titled The Titans of the Tide. And all of that got me wondering about the origins of our favorite Dutchman, and what I found is a wild tsunami of witches, deals, and Reaper-like activity that seems all too shady to let him sail free. So if you're ready to find out this whirlpool of truth, make sure you subscribe, hype the video, and of course dive deep with me as we discover the truth behind the Flying Dutchman. The Flying Dutchman is a longtime character of the SpongeBob franchise who was actually introduced in the episode Squidward the Unfriendly Ghost inside of a comic book, where we're told that his corpse was used as a clothing mannequin, and because of that he was never laid to rest and turned into a ghost that haunts the seas. But that story might not be so true, as he retcons the story multiple different times when he says he's been around for 5,000 years or forever, but thing is, he can't have been here forever. He is a pirate. If we actually look at the stories he's based on, the first literary mention in the real world history of the Flying Dutchman was a ship, not a pirate, back in 1790 in a book by John MacDonald, where he accounts a ship that couldn't make it to port and the ghostly visions of the ship haunt the seas, which kind of lines up with the fact that the golden age of piracy ended around 1730 in the Caribbean. But what about in the universe of SpongeBob? How does this even link up? In order to understand this, we'll have to look at the SpongeBob comics. And if you're like me, you probably didn't know that SpongeBob had a whole line of comic books. I already knew that they had like small children's books, but comic books fully written by Stephen Hillenburg? I had to take a look at this. But if we look specifically at SpongeBob comic issue number 18, the Flying Dutchman is pulled over for driving in his boat. And when the officer looks at his license, the Flying Dutchman says this is from a time when he looked more alive. But then the officer yells that it's been over 200 years old and he has to go back to boating school. And this book slightly confirms that the Dutchman is not over 5,000 years old, but in fact only over 200 years old. And if we take into account that his first appearance was in 1999, if we go just over 200 years prior, that perfectly lines up with the golden age of piracy, which also lines up perfectly with the Flying Dutchman ship appearing on the seas. But if that's the case, why does his ghost still haunt the seas? Well, overthinkers, I think it's because he made a deal with Davey, the owner of Davy Jones's locker, the final resting place of all pirates in SpongeBob's universe. I know it's hard to believe, but Davy Jones' locker is a longtime character of the SpongeBob franchise. And no, I didn't stutter, the locker is a character. In the world of SpongeBob, Davy Jones's locker is simply a locker filled to the brim with socks. But the first time we see the locker is in the episode Born Again Krabs, where Mr. Krabs is threatened to be taken there because he's being so cheap. But the second time we see him in the series is because the Flying Dutchman gets knocked inside by Mr. Krabs, where we see Davy himself inside of the locker, and he throws a sock at the Flying Dutchman, to which he screams. And in the episode The Curse of Bikini Bottom, we see the locker inside of the Flying Dutchman's room as he prepares for a date. And as he's looking for a suit in his closet, he acknowledges the skeleton as Davy, which means he knows Davy personally. Matter of fact, when he gets knocked inside of Davy Jones's locker by Mr. Krabs, he's not even fazed that he sees Davy. He's just annoyed that he's there. So maybe it's all a part of the Dutchman's eternal pact to gather souls of dead pirates to help Davy clean his socks. This will also explain why he keeps going after Mr. Krabs and threatening him with going to Davy Jones's locker. Because Mr. Krabs used to be a pirate, and pirates are the only ones who get sent to Davy Jones' locker. And pirate rules dictate upon death, you go to Davy Jones's locker. In fact, this is actually solidified in the SpongeBob universe. In fact, if we take another look at a different comic known as SpongeBob Comics issue number 55 and 56, we get the Ballad of Barnacle Bill, who's another singer like Mermaid Man who goes to Shady Shoals for retirement, but mistakes Barnacle Boy as his long-lost son. And because Mermaid Man didn't want to be separated from Barnacle Boy, SpongeBob takes his place as Barnacle Boy on an adventure with Barnacle Bill. And on this adventure, SpongeBob and Barnacle Bill go to save his mermaid girlfriend from the White Water Witch. But during their sailing travels, they're stopped by a rogue pirate who threatens to send them to Davy Jones's locker, which then the locker comes up from the bottom of the ocean and speaks. The locker is basically happy that someone could join them in cleaning with these dirty socks. But aren't you noticing a pattern here? Davy Jones might be the final resting place of pirates, but it only cares about its socks getting clean, which reminded me of a whole nother episode where SpongeBob and Patrick first climb aboard the Dutchman's ship and tries to eat them after they fail to be a part of his crew. And before he goes to eat them, he tells them he's going to be wearing his special dining sock.
Yes, sir. Sometimes I wonder how I'd survive if anything should ever happen to me.
Why would the Dutchman need a dining sock? Unless somebody who's been a friend of him gave him a dining sock, a sock as a memory of their pact, the pact that he has to bring them souls of pirates to help him clean his never-ending smelly sock problem. And if you're not getting it by now, the Flying Dutchman and Davy Jones's locker has a special pact signified by the dining sock that the souls of doomed pirates will be taken to Davy Jones's locker, which is why he tries to get SpongeBob and Patrick to join his crew. And it's the same reason he goes after Mr. Krabs so often. So, okay, the Flying Dutchman is indeed acting as the Pirate Reaper, but what if there was someone who actually wants to put an end to him? And I believe it might actually be a witch. In SpongeBob, there are many episodes now, but one of the newer ones that caught my attention was a new episode titled Sandy Help Us, an episode where Sandy is helping everyone in Bikini Bottom with their problems, from dumb tasks to stopping a meteor from hitting the moon. But the weirdest request that she receives is from the Flying Dutchman. She gets a phone call from a ghostly phone, which the Flying Dutchman uses to tell her that he's been trapped in a crystal ball by a witch. Of course, Sandy comes in and helps him out, but this leaves him extremely tiny. And if you think about it, why would a witch trap him and leave him in his own house? Unless they thought he was never going to be found again. And in SpongeBob, there's a long list of witches, including the White Water Witch, which I mentioned from the comics. But remember the movie Search for SquarePants? In one part, there's a human-looking man stuck inside of a crystal ball with the same nose as the Flying Dutchman. Like, this is almost uncanny and probably his human counterpart. But how did he get down there, and why is he stuck in a crystal ball? And what's crazier, why is he stuck in a crystal ball just like how he was inside of that episode, Sandy Help Us? So without a doubt, I think that somebody's actually trying to stop the Flying Dutchman for good, and trying to put an end to him from harvesting souls to wash socks. But is that a coincidence? I think not. And of course, if you like videos like this and more, make sure you check out the whole playlist for season 2 of Animated Cartoon Conspiracy Theory. We got game theories, we got video theories, we got film theories, we got a whole lot of things for you to check out. And I'll of course see you in the next video. Bye-bye! And with that, I've created a perpetual motion device. But by my calculations, perpetual motion shouldn't exist. Well, that's because you're not a genius like me, Arctine. You built me with the capabilities to run complex equations. It's not possible. Who's the doctor here, 19? I made perpetual motion. No, Jero, you didn't.
Media theorist and talented creator, the dedicated artist.
That's right, and I'm here to expose to the world how you made your contraption.